A big warm welcome to everyone joining our webinar today. I'm delighted to have our lead data scientist, Victoria, on the call, who will be taking us through derived metrics. She'll be telling us about what derived metrics are, how we create them, and how they're used. Hello, Victoria.
Hello.
So lovely to have you here today. Now, for those new on the call, here at Dexibit, we do big data analytics for visitor attractions, both cultural and commercial locations. Our goal is to democratize data for our customers. And we do that by bringing together all the data from all the various systems, such as ticketing, footfall, retail, location analytics, reviews, Google reviews, survey reviews, social media, third-party data, and so much more. And then these are all available in our dashboards or through reports that are sent out in insights and in the forecasts. I'm just going to do a very quick demo of Dexibit for those that are new to us. I'm just going to share my screen. Cool. Hopefully you can see my dashboard. So this is what a typical dashboard in Dexibit looks like. You can have unlimited number of dashboards, unlimited number of users. And the key being that we have a pre-built library of visualizations for users to choose from. So you just go to click on the library, you search for whatever you want, and then it pops up, and then you just click add. So you don't have to write complex queries to get to an insight. Again, we have high-level metrics, low-level metrics. We could look at item level, such as your top 5 selling products, and by your top salespeople. And then I'll just do here. And in here, you can actually write a query if you want to look for specific product names such as penguins, as is the case in our demo data set. And again, you can group by different things, write any filter, look at percentages. And as an example here, you could even look at advanced pass. So how advanced pass lead booking time? How far in advance are people booking special tickets? And this is where the derived metrics come into play. So Victoria, please tell us what derived metrics are.
Sounds good. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So what is a derived metric? Simply, a derived metric is a metric created based on one or more existing metrics. Derived metrics help to create data points from your data in order to create new value, new data. Derived metrics can be plotted in Dexibit as an attribute, they can be grouped by as a dimension, and they can be used in queries and in filters. And derived metrics are great for calculating data from your attributes, such as booking lead time, the difference between when a ticket was sold and when it was scheduled or redeemed, and simplifying your data view and creating categories, such as if a transaction is of a member or not. So you might do that by saying, if a member ID is detected in the transaction, give it a member tick, and if it's not, give it a 0 or not member tick. Or to create a region from a zip code. For example, the DMV, the District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia might be a useful category for a number of our venues. And it's also useful for connecting multiple data sources together for conversion rates or any type of proportion or ratio. As an example, I'm going to take you through booking lead times. Booking lead times represent the difference in days between when your customers bought their tickets versus when they came to visit. Overall, booking lead times provide valuable insights that visitor attractions can use to optimize operations, to improve customer experience, and facilitate planning and forecasting. I'm just going to open up the toolbox. So here you can see that we've created this. Well, we have 2 derived metrics here. One is our booking lead time by day, which is what we're grouping our data by on the x-axis. So that's the days in advance of booking. And then we're we're plotting that by our measure, which is our issued quantity, which is also happens to be derived. So I can see that about 15% of my visitors buy their ticket within 1 day of their visit. And you can see that I can create this as a percent. So I can see, oh, that's about 15% of my visitors booking within a day. And I'm curious, does this depend on the sales channel? Do people who come in person to buy their ticket book more closer to their visit versus people who buy online? So I might group this data by channel. And one of the great things about this gets applied dynamically at the level of the grouping. So it's very helpful. And I can see that, hey, my box office and my online actually have a very similar booking curve. People book in similar ways on these two sales channels. This is demo data, so it's not going to tell a typical story, but I can see that our reseller booking curve looks very different, which is not surprising. We'd expect that. So I can also group by product, and this also is demo data, so we're not going to see the typical sort of trends that we might see. Typically, we might see different trends for different products, such as like, you know, an exhibition that's been a lot of marketing money has gone into might show a very different booking curve than a general admission product. But here we're going to see that, hey, all of my ticket products have the same booking curve, which is not that interesting, but usually it is more. Cool. I hope this illustrates just a bit how derived metrics can be so valuable. They're not just a flat attribute. It's not just about knowing the metric. It's about dynamically creating the metric based on your group by and your filter or your query. Now I'm going to show you how derived metrics can be made in a sneak peek of our Data Explorer interface. So we'll just go to our Data tab, and then we'll go to Data Explorer. So we'll go to our tickets because this is the ticketing metric. These you can see are all of our data sources or data tables. You can upload a CSV to add a new table. You can see these are all of our metrics that we have. And we've got our attrition rate, we've got our booking lead time by day. And I'm just going to take a quick view of booking lead time to show you how it can be derived. So you can name it, you can have a display name and a description. You can tag it as derived. And here you can see this is where we define it. For any data analysts, or you might recognize this as being similar to the select statement in a SQL query. So this is simply the date difference in days between the date sold and the date scheduled. You can add some extras. Cool. And you can make it visible or not visible too. This is awesome because you can share definitions. Definitions of how metrics are defined can be shared and democratized and transparent. So you're not comparing apples with oranges, always comparing apples with apples. Cool. Let's go back and look at some more examples.
Just while that's loading for Victoria, what she demoed is not available for our customers yet. This is a little sneak peek of what is coming on our roadmap.
Thanks, Veronika. So if we want to return to booking curves, let's say I want to understand no-shows. I know that I have a no-show problem, and I can see that I have a no-show, a lot of no-shows happening in March of 2023. We can open up the toolbox. We can see how we derived this attrition quantity, which is just the number of people who didn't show up or the number of tickets that were not redeemed. We can group it by monthly. We can group it by product, which is as we've done. And I can see, okay, there's a lot of no-shows happening in March, but I don't know, is this because I had more visitors in March? Because I typically have more visitors in March. It's a busy month for us. Or is it because there were actually more no-shows relative to visitors during March? And we can create a derived metric to find this out. So I'm going to go back. I've created a derived metric to create attrition rate. I'll just open up my thing. So attrition rate is just simply the number of no-shows divided by the number of tickets sold. And I can use this to represent the proportion of ticket purchasers who didn't show up. Now, looking at our attrition rate, we can see that March did not have a notably higher attrition problem. It looks like February has the same. It looks like May has the same. And it also looks like the only thing that's really standing out is that April had a notably less attrition, with only 35% of tickets being no-shows. We can see we generally have a pretty high attrition rate here at the Museum of Antarctica, but this is to be expected given how far our visitors have to travel to reach us in Antarctica, and this is demo data. So in this example, I hope you can see how derived metrics can facilitate deeper insights by combining raw metrics like the number of tickets issued versus the number not redeemed to get an attrition rate, and how this can enable comparisons across time periods or across products in proportion. So for our machine learning models, we also use derived metrics. We use them to create new features for our models to learn from and to evaluate how well our models perform. I'm just going to show you a little bit of here's our forecast residuals. And I'll just click on the expand and the toolbox. So residuals simply show the difference between the what venue this is our revenue forecast. So what revenue we actually occurred and what revenue we predicted would happen. So it's simply the sum of the actual subtract the sum of the predicted, and it's applied at the group by and filtering level. I can group it by business line, and it can be applied. I can group it by model. Cool. So the sky is the limit for derived metrics at Dexibit. We can do average revenue per visit. We can do activity attendance per visit, conversion rates of all sorts, percent of goals achieved. Yeah, the sky is the limit. And thanks.
Cool. Thank you so much, Victoria. That was really, really insightful. And yes, these derived metrics are available in all of our new visualizations for all of our customers as they come on board with these new ways of looking at the data. If you guys have any questions, please pop them into the chat. We do have just one question so far, but if you have more, please pop them in and we'll answer them, or feel free to message us afterwards. Okay, so we have a question. How do I know what derived metrics I need? I think this can be interpreted in a number of ways, so I'm just going to try answering it both ways. So every visualization with the relevant data source, whether it's ticketing, revenue, Google reviews, surveys, whatever else, the derived metrics will already be available for you in the dropdown. So you don't have to worry about creating them yourself. So these derived metrics are what we call best practice. So these are the things that visitor attractions should be looking at and tracking to make best decisions for their departments. Now, because we've worked with like a lot of attractions throughout the years, and also many different data sources that are also very specific to visitor attractions, we know how to derive these metrics from the different systems. For example, Ticketure would have its own derived metrics that might be slightly different to Ticketmaster or whatever else. And so we know what these need to be, so you don't have to think about it yourself. We will do all that work. Now, it's not that easy to actually understand what all these metrics are or how to calculate them. And what, actually, Victoria, do you want to tell how we got to these derived metrics a few years ago, like our journey of this?
Sure. So when COVID hit, the problem of no-shows became more and more a problem. People were booking their timed entry slots and they weren't showing up for them. Even if it was free, it was causing a huge amount of problems for our customers. And many of our customers wanted to understand at a deeper level booking behaviors and how that correlated with visitor behaviors or visitor flow. And Angie came to data science and told us about these problems. And as data scientists, we started deriving metrics and looking at the literature to see how do we understand and explain what's happening and how do we conceptualize it. So we derived booking lead times and attrition rates, and we found some fascinating trends. Just as an aside, attrition wasn't just related to COVID outbreaks or external events. It was actually related to how visitor attraction structured their ticket release, their marketing campaigns. So it was fascinating and counterintuitive in many of the things that we found. So now we've created this in-app so that you can do it dynamically at the grouping, filtering, querying level. And we'll continue to create these derived metrics on our customers' behalf for their most pressing problems. But you might have your own use cases too that you'd like to create derived metrics for. And soon we'll be enabling that functionality for you in-app. And so you can share your definitions with each other so that everybody's using the same definitions. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a good point, Victoria. I should have mentioned that, of course, you know, there's many derived metrics we know of, and we'll keep producing more and productizing them and standardizing them. But there's so many use cases of how our customers want to look at the data, the questions that they have. And so the best thing that we can do is just to enable our customers to create these themselves if they know, you know, what they're after, what questions they're trying to answer. And even if they're not sure how to do it, eventually, once we open up that functionality, we can always work with them to help understand, you know, how to structure it and what to look at. Yeah, that's a good point, Victoria. Well, there's no more questions. So thank you so much, Victoria, for that really insightful demonstration of derived metrics. And yeah, thank you everybody on this call for joining us today.
Thanks, Veronika.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.